On September the 11th, 2020, I produced a documentary on the late great Chris Cornell of Soundgarden and Audioslave. Almost 1 year later, I then produced a documentary on Linkin Park, which naturally included Chester Bennington. Chris Cornell sadly left us on May the 18th, 2017, and Chester just 2 months later, on July the 20th, 2017. They have since received a combined total of 2.5 million views and roughly 4,000 comments during this time, some of which have recently started to catch my eye, many of them rather disturbing. At first I brushed them off as a kind of random, crazy bunch of comments. After all, this is YouTube, it's the internet. There is a lot of crazy out there. You even have figures such as David Ikce, who basically tries to convince people that a controlling alien race has been living underground for centuries, influencing every aspect of human life and the modern day world. There's also hundreds, if not thousands, of various conspiracy theories rampant on the internet, from everything to the Illuminati run the world, to presidents and monarchs secretly being lizard people. So you'll forgive me if I ignore the vast majority of comments that come across as somewhat tinfoil hat. However, the other week a video popped up on my YouTube feed. That video was called Joe Rogan, Chester and Chris Death Conspiracy with Eddie Bravo. This video was published on the 7th of August 2017, shortly after both Chester and Chris had sadly left this world. And I will say it's quite an uncomfortable watch, but here's a little clip.
The exact same way.
Dude, let's not do this, man.
No.
I don't want to even do this. I don't even want to do this.
Okay, all right. Okay.
Now you can see Joe is very uncomfortable, and understandably so. They had just died. It's somewhat disrespectful to be touting conspiracy theories this close to someone passing. The families haven't yet mourned, and fans around the globe are still devastated, much as I was. Eddie Bravo, an American martial arts instructor, podcaster, and stand-up comedian, essentially suggested that Chris and Chester were taken out by powerful people in order to silence a truth. Now, this has conspiracy theory written all over it, although in light of recent events, it seems that now maybe this conspiracy could have some truth to it. That truth being that Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell did not choose to leave this world of their own free will. People believe they were working on a documentary that was about to expose various people in positions of high power that were involved in human trafficking, mainly of minors. Now, unfortunately, this in itself is absolutely not a conspiracy. People in positions of power becoming involved in some quite horrific aspects of human trafficking and illegal activities involving minors have been well documented for decades. Just one example, go and check out Vice's YouTube channel and have a flick through their videos, and you'll see a lot of disturbing titles, but be warned, it's not for the faint-hearted. On August 19th, 2020, Reuters, an extremely reputable and globally reaching news organization, even published an article on the topic. Reuters covers everything from US politics to aerospace and war, technology, and special investigations, such as the recent expose on Elon Musk and the companies he runs. The article came in response to this image going viral and spreading far and wide across social media. Social media users have been sharing a post which claims that the DJ Ikce, Linkin Park lead singer Chester Bennington, American singer Chris Cornell, and celebrity chef Anthony Bourdain all worked on a trafficking documentary called The Silent Children, and did not take their own lives as widely reported. Again, this had conspiracy theory written all over it, and yet out of pure curiosity, I decided to see if this so-called documentary was real. And to my surprise, there it was, on IMDb of all places. And even more curiously was the wording of its description. It will be a long-form documentary film. So what happened to it? There's even a trailer for it on YouTube, published on the 20th of August 2011 with over 450,000 views, so it was in production. Reuters reached out to a member of the production team for Silent Children to find out more information, and this is the response they received in 2020. None of the people mentioned were ever involved in our project, and we were never even remotely in contact with them. Our project and its website was a well-meaning attempt to make people aware of a serious problem. We never got further than what was on the website, and we were not able to raise funding to move forward. The project was abandoned at least 5 years ago. The website was maintained as an informational source by Ms. Bean, and is in the process of being taken down. This was in 2020. This documentary was being produced by Jelly Bean Productions LLC, and the company was dissolved on January the 9th, 2017, several months before anything had happened with Chester or Chris, according to the Reuters article. So the production company had already shut down, and they have directly said that Chris nor Chester had any involvement whatsoever. It's more than common for documentary films and independent films to shut down for lack of funding. It happens all the time. And ask yourself this: how many people would want to be involved with a documentary of this nature and have their name attached to it because they funded it? This entire conspiracy all started around something now known as the Pizzagate conspiracy theory. The general gist of it is that a pizza restaurant / concert venue in Washington, D.C. called Comet Ping Pong was, along with various Democratic Party figures, involved in illegal activities with minors, such as trafficking. On November the 4th, 2016, a Reddit user posted a thread called Comet Ping Pong Pizzagate Summary to the subreddit The Donald, a community of Donald Trump supporters. The thread essentially tries to connect Hillary Clinton, a Democrat, to an illegal ring of people involved in the exploitation of said minors. So this basically all started with a Republican reading some leaked emails between Hillary Clinton and then presidential campaign chair John Podesta, and trying to put together some sort of theory that would simply make the opposing political party look guilty of something. After all, that's basically politics. This was all debunked by the Metropolitan Police and the New York Times, amongst other media outlets. And some of the information people are spreading regarding Chris is just an absolute shot in the dark. It's a coincidental correlation, not a causation. The fact that he had some broken ribs, to some, is clear evidence that something nefarious happened to him, when in fact, all you need to do is look on almost any certified CPR training organization's website to see that not only is it common for ribs to break, up to 30% of the time when CPR is being performed, but in some cases, the sternum can even fracture. The sternum is the big fused chest plate at the front, essentially holding your rib cage together, protecting the heart and lungs. So suffering from some fractures during CPR is not a sign of foul play. Not only that, Chris's hotel door was locked and the bathroom door was locked where he was found. So somebody did something to him and left, managing to lock both doors behind them from the outside. Well, that doesn't really make any sense, leading some to say, well, it was the bodyguard then that had to kick down the doors in the first place. But still, even he would have had to lock both inside locks on both doors from the outside, one being a hotel door with a key lock. And I'm not going to get into any great personal details here about Chris or Chester's death, as even 7 years later, I still don't think that's a respectful thing to do. And if you're really interested, you can go and read the autopsy reports for yourself online. I think though the most disrespectful aspect of this entire conspiracy theory is you completely ignore the mental health problems that both Chris and Chester had faced for almost their entire lives. They both went through some traumatic things when they were younger, leading them to suffer from various mental health conditions for their entire adult life, including severe depression. But then some people will say, well, if you're depressed, you would never do that to your family or your kids. Well, to those people, I would say you've never experienced real depression. All the money in the world, all the fame can't make up for a mental health battle you've never been able to win. Chester himself had said on multiple occasions that his thoughts constantly took him to a dark place, and Chris has also been interviewed many times on his own personal struggles with mental health. And it's also public knowledge that Chester was absolutely devastated upon hearing the news about Chris. And if you're already in a dark place, hearing that your best friend has been taken from you in such circumstances would be enough to push many people over the edge. So I think it's time we once again start to remember Chris Cornell and Chester Bennington for the incredibly talented human beings they were, as opposed to dragging their name through some wild conspiracy theory. Some people will continue to believe this and probably even accuse me of now being part of that so-called cover-up or conspiracy, but that's the internet. What can you do? If you'd like to watch either the Chris Cornell or Linkin Park documentary, they're on screen now.